know you're usually a quad kind of girl, but I've been working on that all week.
Birthday, yes. Happy never.
When Wednesday first arrived on Netflix, one of the biggest reasons it stood out was because it managed to take the classic Addams Family character and place her into a creepy gothic boarding school filled with supernatural outcasts. That combination of horror, mystery, dark comedy, and high school drama helped make the series one of Netflix's biggest successes. But now, as Wednesday Season 3 prepares to take the story in a completely different direction, there are reasons to be both excited and concerned at the same time. Whenever a show becomes one of the most popular streaming series ever made, expectations immediately become much higher. Every new season is expected to be bigger, more ambitious, and more exciting than the one before it. The stakes need to increase, the mysteries need to become more complicated, and in Wednesday's case, the horror and supernatural elements need to feel even more intense. Because of that pressure, it is not surprising that the creative team is looking for ways to expand the story beyond what viewers have already seen. Season 3 is planning its biggest change yet. Instead of keeping Wednesday focused on mysteries around Nevermore Academy and the town of Jericho, the story is moving far beyond those familiar locations. This time, Wednesday's investigations will take her out into the wider world, creating a completely different type of adventure. The main storyline reportedly begins with Wednesday setting off alongside Uncle Fester in search of Enid. After becoming trapped permanently in her alpha werewolf form, Enid heads toward the Canadian border, forcing Wednesday to leave the safety and familiarity of home behind. Although Canada is already a huge distance from Nevermore, the journey apparently does not stop there. Netflix has also confirmed that Wednesday will travel overseas during Season 3, with Paris, France becoming another important location in the story. That alone shows how dramatically the series is changing. Instead of focusing on a contained school environment filled with students, teachers, and local mysteries, the show is transforming into something much larger. It is becoming a globe-trotting supernatural mystery adventure. That change sounds exciting because it opens the door for a bunch of new possibilities. Different countries, new supernatural threats, and unfamiliar mysteries could help keep the show fresh. But at the same time, the shift raises an important question. If Wednesday moves too far away from the elements that made the series successful in the first place, could it lose some of its unique charm? One of the biggest strengths of the show has always been Nevermore Academy itself. The school is not simply a backdrop where events happen. It is one of the main reasons the series feels so distinctive. The Gothic architecture, the strange traditions, and the collection of supernatural students all help create a very specific atmosphere that separates Wednesday from other mystery shows. A huge part of the fun comes from throwing a bunch of misfits together and watching them interact. Some become friends, some become rivals, and some end up betraying each other. Those relationships help drive many of the best moments in the series. Even though Wednesday often claims she prefers being alone, the story has repeatedly shown that her interactions with others are what make her journey so interesting. Jenna Ortega's performance remains one of the show's biggest strengths, and the supporting Addams Family cast continues to be a major attraction as well. But much of the emotional core of the series comes from seeing Wednesday slowly connect with people she never expected to care about. That process becomes much harder when she is constantly traveling from place to place. Her friendship with Enid is probably the best example of this. Those two characters could not be more different from each other. Wednesday is cold, serious, and often emotionally distant, while Enid is cheerful, energetic, and incredibly social. Yet, despite those differences, they eventually formed one of the strongest friendships in the show. The reason that relationship worked so well is because they were forced into each other's lives. Sharing a room at Nevermore meant they could not simply walk away whenever things become uncomfortable. They had to learn how to understand one another. They had disagreements, frustrations, and misunderstandings, but they also grew closer because they spent so much time together. That kind of forced proximity is one of the most important parts of Wednesday's storytelling structure. It creates opportunities for character development that might not happen otherwise. Because Wednesday is naturally isolated, she usually needs circumstances to push her toward forming relationships. If Season 3 removes much of that structure, there is a possibility that her growth could slow down. While she will have Uncle Fester traveling alongside her, and she will almost certainly encounter new people during her journey. Those interactions may not have the same impact. After all, when someone can simply leave and continue traveling at any moment, the relationships they form may not be tested in the same way. That creates an interesting concern for the future of the series. Wednesday works best when people challenge her beliefs, question her actions, and force her to confront parts of herself she would rather ignore. If she spends most of the season solving mysteries on her own, there is a risk that she could become too isolated again. At the same time, there are plenty of reasons to believe that this genre shift could be exactly what the show needs. The reality is that high school stories have a natural limit. There are only so many years students can remain in school before graduation eventually arrives. Many shows struggle once they reach that point because they are forced to leave behind the setting that made them successful. A few series have managed that transition successfully. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is often considered one of the best examples. It survived the move beyond high school and continued telling compelling stories. But many other shows have not been nearly as fortunate. Because of that, expanding Wednesday's world before graduation arrives may actually be a smart long-term decision. Instead of waiting until the students are forced to leave Nevermore, the series is gradually introducing viewers to a much larger world. That approach allows the story to evolve naturally while still keeping familiar characters involved. It also creates opportunities for different styles of storytelling. Nevermore naturally encouraged season-long mysteries that were connected to the school and its history, but a traveling detective format could allow Wednesday to tackle a bunch of separate supernatural cases across different locations. That kind of episodic storytelling could work extremely well for the character. Wednesday has always been at her best when investigating strange and dangerous mysteries. Allowing her to encounter new creatures, hidden conspiracies, and supernatural threats every few episodes could help keep the series feeling unpredictable. The show has already established that its world contains far more supernatural elements than viewers have seen so far. Nevermore introduced outcasts, psychics, werewolves, and other unusual beings, but there is clearly much more waiting to be explored. Moving beyond the school gives the writers a chance to dive deeper into that larger supernatural universe. A wider scope could also benefit many of the supporting characters. While Wednesday will always remain the central focus, the Addams family itself has become one of the most entertaining aspects of the series. Season 2 especially demonstrated how much potential exists beyond Wednesday's immediate storyline. One of the highlights was the introduction of Grandma Hester Frump, played by Joanna Lumley. Her arrival added another fascinating layer to the family dynamic and gave viewers more insight into the strange world surrounding the Addams family. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop, and if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.